Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Living in the Limelight, an Anton Scholl and Friends podcast where we discuss music from the artist and fan perspective. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to another episode of Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Anton Scholl, and with me today is my special guest from Phoenix, Arizona, Lisa Barca. How are you today?
I'm doing all right, Anton. How are you?
Good, good. We're going to ask a lot of questions just in regards to your music. We'll send out your information, get people to jump on and see what you do. And I know you got some exciting projects coming up. So we're going to talk about that. We ready to go?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. All right. Now, I said you were Phoenix, Arizona, which is where, everything that I looked at from you and what I was told, you are from Phoenix, Arizona. You originally from Phoenix?
Actually, no. I'm from the East Coast, so
Oh, okay.
Boston, New York. I used to play, a lot in New Haven, Connecticut, and
Mm.
those are my roots. Is that the East Coast scene? And I more recently came out here to Phoenix, and it's all working out amazing because I found an incredible studio that I love, and I'm getting to make the album
Yeah.
of my dreams.
Well, what's the music scene like different from the East Coast to here? Because since I got here, I've been in Arizona probably I think I'm going on like 15 years in
Mhm.
Arizona, and I'm from Chicago. So I'm a bass player, a singer, and had a band out in Chicago. But the music scene completely different. Now I'm Midwest, so now you have the other side. You're the East Coast. What's the biggest difference you've noticed between the East Coast and here?
Yeah, wow. Thanks, Anton. That's a great question. So, when I was in Boston, for instance, it was just there's it almost seemed like the local scene was kind of a national scene in a lot of ways. There were just so many fantastic bands and clubs concentrated into certain areas more. So, for instance, I could go out on a certain night, or if I was playing a gig, like in Boston, let's say in Central Square, there's the Middle East, and then there was TT the Bears, and then there's another place. So it's a little bit more like kind of a strip, where it's just like, oh, here's this club, here's that club, here's that club. In Phoenix, it seems like it's a little bit more spread out. And probably other things that are different about it too. But I noticed there just was a lot of solidarity, a lot of collaboration among bands. I mean, I think we have that here too, but somehow it seemed a little easier back there, maybe in part because things were just, closer together.
Mhm.
But I love the scene here too. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really amazing.
Well,
Back
with your music, then, do you find it, original music is
Yeah.
there's a lot of original bands out here, but there's not a lot of places for original bands to showcase themselves as much out here. I mean, I noticed that from Chicago. There was tons of places to play in Chicago, but out here, it seems like everybody wants the cover bands and play for 4 hours and do things like that. I'm sure you've noticed that. Is it more difficult out here to find places that will that will showcase your original music?
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Anton, because that is a major difference. Just from your previous question. Yeah, it. I found. I mean, maybe it was in part the scene that I was moving in, but I think it was more just a general matter. There was a lot of original music. There was a big focus on
Mhm.
original bands, and yeah, out here it's harder, for original
Yeah.
bands to get gigs. I mean, certainly it happens, but yeah, there are a lot of clubs, in Scottsdale, for instance, and other places where they really want bar bands. They want bands that can play covers, take requests, get an audience going, get them buying drinks and all that. And that's great. That has its place in the grand scheme of things. But
Right.
yeah, I think that's a really good point. There is not
Mm.
quite as much
Yeah.
room, I think, for original bands, especially those who are just sort of, building themselves up to enter into a scene here.
Right. Yeah. So
But
what would
we're gonna do it anyway. But
yeah,
yes, it's
exactly. I
a little
know.
bit of extra challenge.
Right, for sure. So when somebody comes to see you play, what can they expect out of just you and your band? Now, normally you play with a band, right? So you're not doing a solo thing. You normally have your band with you.
Yeah, so I have played solo before. I have played just solo with my electric guitar,
Mhm.
and with the band. I think in both cases, what people can expect is a lot of energy, a lot of attitude,
Yeah.
playing straight through. We like to kind of start strong, keep going strong, and we just really build a collective energy in the room, so that what's happening on stage is reflected out in what's happening in the audience, and vice versa. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's just a great release. I've sometimes had people moshing when when things really get going. Everything from that to people just kind of
Right.
standing and just really getting into it, and feeling it and listening to the words. So, but I think, yeah, I mean, what I go for is I want to make a good sound on stage. I want to have a high energy, just because I do have high energy, and I need I need a chance to get it out.
Right.
So we're kind of hyper, but I think that's good. We like to jump around and rock out, and uh,
Yeah.
get a little crazy.
So I'm going to read this because I have to tell you, when I read this, kind of like your bio, when I read this, I loved it. It's probably one of the best bios that I've read because it's kind of straight to the point. But let me read it to everybody so they understand. So it says you're a songwriter and guitarist based in Phoenix, Arizona. She marries poetic lyricism with punk defiance, a hard rock edge, and soaring vocal hooks. Her lyrics explore existential themes of identity and rebellion with unflinching honesty. That
Woo!
that right
Who
there.
wrote that?
That,
Wow, that's like a whole term
yeah.
paper right there.
But that immediately made me want to say, I am going to want to hear this person.
That's
You know,
awesome.
I mean, it's really all about, someone who says, oh yeah, we play the music of the 70s and 80s or whatever, or we play high energy rock and roll, or we play originals off the top that you've never heard before. These are all basic and standard. And then I read this one and I'm like, yep, that's exactly, I would definitely go and listen to this music just to hear what it's about. And of course I did. And the songs that I did listen to is right on. I mean, it's really right on. So kudos to you for getting that out there, and hopefully hopefully that does extend to the rest of the songs, because I know
Yeah.
the 4 songs that you have out there now. You're working on an album, but I did want to talk about just a couple songs that you have real quick, and kind of give me the, like, how this happened and how this came up, because when you talk about realism and you talk about unflinching honesty, I want to know about that, and I want to know about what you're basing these songs on, because they seem to be kind of real life situations, whether it be you or somebody else. But
Okay.
um so Clean and Clear, so give me a little bit about that.
So anyway, so that song is well, it's about a lot of things, and I have a writing style where I don't like to make lyrics too literal, where it's about just one thing, or there's just one obvious clear interpretation. So that's something to say right off the top. So I think with that song and the others, listeners can map their own meanings onto it, or at least I would like them to. But I mean, I think the energy of the song, or the feeling behind it for me, is about well, it's in part about sort of like coming out of a dark time, out of a dark time in life. The first lyrics I am stepping into the light. It's been a long, long, hard, cold night. So it's about
Mhm.
that, like just having some, rough things going on, and then just having a time where you're down in the dumps and just being like, oh, things start looking up again,
Yeah.
and finding that creative spark and that energy again. But I think it's also, for me anyway, about just asserting an artist's identity, being authentic, and allowing that authenticity to come out. I am clean and I am clear, and there is nothing that I fear. So just sort of
Mhm.
like almost an anthem, I guess, to everybody, but to myself, about being like, hey, it's challenging sometimes, to really put yourself out there and express emotions in a way that comes from somewhere deep. But I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get over those fears and be real.
Right.
And yeah, and I think there's like a little bit of just kind of a, sort of a romance, sort of vaguely mixed in there.
Well,
But again,
the mood,
I like
the
that.
mood
I like
changes. Well, right, but the mood change is kind of in the song, so you have different parts of the song, which I think are very intriguing, because a lot of songs that you may hear from a guitarist singer
Yes.
is probably just going to be straightforward bar chords, and we're going to sing a melody, but not the case in your songs. Which again, are you the main songwriter on everything that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Anton. That's a great question. So I am the main songwriter on everything, including this
Okay.
song. I have been collaborating. So, like, let's take "Clean and Clear," the song that you just mentioned. So, the way that it is on the album is the chord structure that I wrote, the lyrics that I wrote, the melody that I wrote, with some input from my producer, Colby Peoples, who is just amazing. He has such a good ear, and he's really into my music, and he brings a certain sensibility to it that really adds. So he adds to it without really
Yeah.
changing the songs and their fundamentals. So when we hear, for instance, like you mentioned, Anton, the energy changing, or like the dynamics coming way
Yeah.
down on the third verse, that's something that I like to do a lot, is
Hmm.
like kind of bring things down and shift the intensity level. That was something that I had written into the song, but the exact way that we did it was a product of our process in the studio, of having it be
Yeah.
basically just just bass and vocals there, for a few measures.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
basically, I come in with songs that are complete, and Kobe and I, work on it together, and it just becomes transformed, still in its original essence, but transformed into something that where it fully comes to life.
Right. Well, that brings up a great point in regards to a lot of things that I've been talking about on this podcast for quite some time, is that a producer, can take a song and give it that little tweak or that little change, and make it that much, more of what you were anticipating. You need to listen to a producer. You kind of need to, anybody can go into a recording studio in their bedroom, and
Yeah.
record a 4 track, but when you go into a recording studio and you do something, and that producer is listening with a different set of ears, in a sense, and a clear set of ears, and they listen to that, and they can really bring a song to the next level. And I do want to give a shout out to Colby and Fullwell recording, because they're, everybody knows them out here. Great
Yeah.
group of people. And it's funny, we always talk about, the what do they call it, the 7 separations or something, how you can always kind of everybody kind of meets back after 7 separations of people. And to do the connection between myself and Fullwell, which I've never been, but um I also did shows out here in Phoenix, and I played at the Rock Bar,
Hmm.
and we played with Deirdre. So,
Hmm.
it was a great show and a lot of fun. And, and she's connected in with that studio and does all her recordings there also. So
Yeah.
shout out to the Fullwell recording studio people. and it's great that you're in with a good group of people, to get those songs out there. What was the other? So the other song, the other thing I was going to ask you about was, this is kind of a side note, maybe has nothing to do with anything else, but for me personally, I got to ask you this question because I love the guitar that you're using. It from the videos I saw, it looks like an SG,
Mhm.
and I love the Gibson SG guitar. So tell me a little bit about that guitar and how long you've had it and why you chose that specific guitar for your style of music.
Yeah, wow, thanks, Anton. So, yeah, I really like the SG for a few different reasons. One of them is kind of just pragmatic. It's a fairly lightweight guitar, compared to a lot of other electrics, and so for me, it's really great because I can easily move with it. I can stand with it for hours. I can just kind of get around it and move around it in a way that just feels really natural and comfortable. And I just, yeah, I like the sound of it. I like the range and the variety of sounds in it. We use other guitars in the studios as well. There's so many different kinds of guitars,
Mhm.
on guitars used on those songs. But we do use the SG, either mine or the one that they have there at the studio for a lot
Yeah.
of songs. So yeah, it's a combination of
Mhm.
just its versatility and
Sure.
and yeah, just physically the playability of it for me.
Yeah. And do you use standard tuning on that, or do you tune differently?
Yeah, so some of the songs are in standard tuning. Some of them are in drop D, and I've been
Okay.
experimenting lately, even with drop C, and because the stuff I'm writing, it's is seems to be getting heavier and heavier. So I've written these things that are more in a. I mean, they're still pretty raucous and edgy songs, but they're a little bit more in a. I don't want to say pop, but just a little bit more of like this very radio friendly
Yeah.
genre. And I've been writing stuff that's even more just sort of edgy punk, metal vibe. And so, yeah, that seems to be the direction that I am heading in. So there will be songs like that on the album when it is finished. And the next
Good.
single that's coming up, Forget Me Not, which is coming out in July, it's very raucous.
Oh.
It's
Well,
very
let's talk about the album, and then also want to talk about, you can talk about the band, talk about who else is playing with you, who's and how you go about uh, introducing the songs to the other musicians, and what, if you, I hate to use the word allow, but what you're looking for from them and what they're looking for from you to add to that music. So let's talk about the new album. Do you have a title for it yet?
I right now I'm thinking of titling it after the next single that's coming out, Forget Me Not.
Hmm.
Because so far it's my favorite song on the album. And so that's the tentative title for the album.
Okay. How many songs are you going to have on this album?
There'll be 9 songs, including the released singles, and then some others that no one will have heard. But we're going to remaster everything. So the 4 singles that have been released, we're going to kind of go through, of course, create the order, add some transitions among between the songs so that it
Mhm.
all flows together
Yeah.
as a continuous experience.
Okay, great.
And
How are you going to release it? A lot of people are now releasing their, well, we call them albums, but
yeah,
they are physically releasing them on vinyl. Are you going to be releasing them on some kind of media?
yeah, that's a really great question. So initially they'll be released digitally,
Mhm.
but as we start playing live shows, of course, it would be great to have a variety of merch for people. And I think vinyl would be amazing. So, or maybe CDs. So we'll see. I think we'll do the big digital release just to get things rolling and get that out there. The physical production can take a little while as well, and I don't want to delay the release. So I'd say the digital release will be first, and then the vinyl will follow.
Great. Perfect. Well, all right, let's talk about your band. How many people do you have in your band? And then we'll start talking about the kind of collaboration on how you do your music.
Awesome. So in the recording studio, I have been working with studio musicians like Colby, my producer, plays lead guitar on the song. He also plays bass, which is pretty phenomenal. And then we have a drummer who comes in and has played on all of the songs. So it's pretty in-house in terms of in the studio. And that's been a really great way for us to work because Colby's right there. We're working together. If we decide we want to change something or we need to punch something, like he's right there. He can just replay it, if it's a lead guitar part or something.
Sure.
For the live iteration of the project, I've got some guys here. They're actually here hanging out. A couple chatty Cathys over here, but I've got to hear them. They can't shut up. Anyway, we've got I've got William, who's a phenomenal bass player, just a great all around artist, and we've been working together for around 6 months or more now. And then Anthony, who is a totally kick-ass drummer, has joined us just in the last month, and the three of us gel really well together. Like when we get together, we play, but we have to remind ourselves, like, oh yeah, we have to actually play, because we just have so much fun talking to each other, which for me, and you see how they just keep talking and talking, but we have a really good time. And be quiet now. We have a really good time, and to me that's a good sign, because you gotta be able to get along with people and enjoy hanging out with them, and that comes through on stage. If we're having fun, if we're goofing around, if we're raising our mood and our energy, that's just going to come through to the audience. And that's mostly what the gift that I want to give to the audience is, right? That they can come, they can release whatever's been going on with them, the troubles, the worries, the anxieties, and just be there having fun and rocking out with us.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, definitely to be together and to, gel well with the songs. That's something that's got to be right, because there's so many bands that, especially in original music, you can pick a cover that you all agree on, but
Yep.
you can't always agree on the originals. You know what I mean? So that does kind of pose sometimes a problem in the band.
And that exactly. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the cool thing, because songwriting is just something like that's just kind of where I live, and so I'm not necessarily, when I'm looking for bandmates, looking for other songwriters. I do want input, of course. I want people to give their own creative flair to it, but it's great to have people who are great players and are okay with just working on my original material, which these guys are. So that works out really well, I think, for all of us.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think as a bass player, I know that, like, if somebody kind of tells me, here's a song, I'm going to throw in a little riff here and there. I'm going to try to sneak in a little bit of something to say, hey, I'm here too, to get that in there. So you have that kind of, camaraderie with your other musicians, that they can kind of do a little bit here and there, and you're still okay with it, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back into the album. The new album, with the tentative title, Forget Me Not Right Now. But what are you looking at? You said you were looking at sometime in July for the release. Where are you at on it right now as far as the process?
Yeah, so July is when I plan to release the last single before the album, and July 12th is the date that we have slated for that. And then we're looking at a September release date for the album. So there'll be, just like a little time, like a month and a half, maybe a couple of months, riding that wave of the last single. And then the album will be out in late summer, early fall.
Okay. And are you planning any type of release party or any type of show, anything that you'll be doing that you can kind of plug here for this? Because the podcast should be coming out fairly recent. So if you want to plug anything for that, certainly go ahead now and do that.
Yeah, well, now that you mention it, I think we'll have to do that. We don't have anything planned right now, but certainly when the album's out, we will at the very least do, you know, just, some, either a show at a local club or just rent out a space so that we can, maybe, partner up with some other local bands. But there will be some kind of release party. So keep an eye out for that. And when the date and time is set, we will definitely let everybody know.
Great. Now, in the meantime, where can people find your music right now with some websites or whatever you may have on YouTube or Spotify? Let us know where we can find it.
Sure. So I'm on Spotify, and right now it's under my name, Lisa Barca, Barca, and I've got a YouTube channel. Well, there's a couple of YouTube channels. The one that the distributor releases the singles on, and then my own YouTube channel that has some additional things, such as behind the scenes footage from in the studio and hanging out with the band. I'm on Apple Music and all of the other major streaming platforms. And I have a website, lisabarca.com or .org or .net. All of those should lead to the website.
Okay. Now the YouTube channel I think the YouTube channel would be at Lisa Barca Music.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything. Yes,
right.
Exactly. Everything should be right. Thank you. All the social media handles should be that exactly at Lisa Barca Music.
Perfect. Yeah. And you are on Facebook also under that Lisa Barca Music.
Yes.
Yeah. So just make sure. Yeah. People want to listen. Definitely go to YouTube, Lisa Barca Music, and check it out, because it's certainly it's definitely different than what's out there now. It's really good, and like I said, I love the bio on there, and it certainly is true to form. And I've always been a person who loves straightforward music. Guitars, bass, drums. Always love that straightforward type music, and you certainly do that. So, what do you have planned on for the future after this album? What are you looking at doing? Tours or anything of that nature, or do you not?
I'm so excited to release the album. I just can't wait till that moment, when it can really be shared with the world. And, then once the album is out, of course, I'm going to focus on playing live shows here in the Valley, but also touring, doing some regional tours, and then hopefully expanding that out to something national, maybe opening, for a national act or something like that.
Yeah.
In terms of musically, I'll keep writing songs and working with this live band that is taking form in such a cool way right now. And, we've been talking about things shifting into a band focus. Right now it's been presented as a solo project, which makes sense because I've written the songs, and I wanted to record them. I had these songs, and I was like, I just want to get in the studio and start working on these, even though I don't have a band right now. But as things are taking form, I think the next step would be to have a band. So we're a group and focus on playing live, just putting on some really good, high energy, high caliber rock shows. So that's something I can't wait to do.
Oh yeah. And it's great to do that out here in Phoenix. And if you get the chance to travel or go anywhere, that's a great way to get your music out there. So I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions outside of now, just kind of, these are silly podcast questions before we go. But so what do you listen to when you're not, obviously recording or playing your own music? What do you listen to, and what really, gets you going when you're listening to it?
Oh gosh, such a great question. So I listen to some stuff that is a little similar to the genre that I work in. I listen to a wide variety of things, but I do listen to stuff that is, in a similar genre. I mean, the surge of female fronted original rock acts in the 90s and early 2000s remains a huge inspiration, a huge boon just to the world of rock, and to women in music. So I listen to things in that vein. Veruca Salt, Liz Phair, Even some of the Riot Girl stuff like L7 or Sleater Kinney.
Yeah.
I also listen to other things that are maybe aren't as similar genre wise to what I'm doing. So I love some of the early 2000s like neo garage rock stuff like the Strokes or the White Stripes. But then I will listen to completely different things as well.
Sure.
Sometimes like jazz. Some of these old jazz singers and blues singers are just incredible. Like for instance, the other night I was staying up late and I was just listening to Bessie Smith, for instance, and just being absolutely blown away, by just the strength and the pure emotion of that singing.
Right.
And even though what I'm doing is obviously, it's 100 years later, it's such a different style, but I still feel like she's speaking to me, and that is informing my art. I feel like everything I listen to is informing my art. So I try to listen to a variety and really branch out in that way. But a lot of women, not all, but a lot of women, a lot of female singers. But yeah, a little bit of everything.
Right. What about the guitar playing? Who really inspired you to really pick up the guitar?
Yeah, so I started playing just kind of on my own. And then again, it was with a lot of these female fronted bands where you started seeing women playing guitar, not folk guitar, but heavy electric guitar. Mm-hmm. I know I mentioned, Veruca Salt before, for instance. It's really, I think it's really important to see somebody who is somewhat like you, a woman, for instance, doing this thing. And that is what really inspired me to be like, yeah, I can do it. I can play loud. I can play heavy distorted guitar because I've always been just a heavy, I guess, in terms of music. I tried to do a little bit more of like a lighter folk style. Like I tried to sing like Joni Mitchell at one point, who was amazing and all of that. But then it took me a while to just realize like, I'm rock. It comes out rock. That's really how I express myself. So yeah, I think it was a lot of women like Louise Post, for instance, from Veruca Salt, is such an incredible guitarist. She's one of the most underrated guitarists, I think, because they get the attention that they deserve, for being this really unique like duo, female fronted like heavy rock band. When you really listen to her guitar playing, like she's just so good, and so that's a big inspiration. So hoping to inspire more women to to do that, to rock out, be loud and be real and yeah, let it out.
All right. Well, we are definitely looking forward to that new album coming out. And again, everybody, go to Lisa Barca Music, check out the songs, very, hard edged songs, just really listen to the lyrics, listen to everything that's on there. She's done a great job so far at putting out those songs. And now with the new album coming out, we're definitely looking forward to that. That'll be something we'll be looking for. I appreciate you taking the time to be on. Hang on with us for a minute because we're going to talk more a little bit after the podcast, so don't disconnect yet. But for everybody else, and if you want your other guys in the band to jump behind you and say goodbye, we can certainly have that. We've been hearing them chatting in the background, so we know they're out there. They want to come on. They're itching to come on.
You guys?
Yeah, they're saying, show me.
On the camera because everyone's been
yeah,
I wish they need to see
there you go. See, these are the ones who make it happen. These are the ones
this is Anthony.
Now, is this a family show?
He is a very oh yeah, well, I've been avoiding profanity so far. This is Anthony. He is very funny and very lively and very nice
and energetic,
all in one.
And he's
lively and energetic,
and he smiles.
That's a nice way of saying he talks a lot.
I know.
I can't shut up.
And he smiles a lot.
That's you.
And here's
I
William.
can't stop talking back.
William, come here. So
well, the drummers and the bass players.
He's the drummer.
They don't get enough love, so we have to be able to show them off now and again.
Let's give the drummer some
section
love.
never gets
know.
enough love.
Everybody loves the drummer. What are you talking about?
I
Right?
know.
We never get enough pictures. We always get the drummers. We always get with a stick in front of their face.
Social
So we
stuff.
just want to make sure we show who you really are.
Man.
Shut up.
We need some female friends.
Yes. See what I mean?
Aw.
They're
Yep.
they're actually very compliant. They
Oh,
listen to
compliant.
they
yeah.
listen to what I
Oh,
say.
they're
Oh,
I'm harmless.
you wouldn't think so,
It's been
but
called harmless.
I don't think so.
this
Compliant.
is I know.
It
Well,
immediately gets my cackles up.
well, yeah, I meant to do
I
that.
know.
That was the point. No, we get along. We have a blast. So this
Oh,
is
yeah, we have
William.
a
This is
blast.
William, the bass player. We're at his space right now. This is where we rehearse. We're set up to record here, and yeah, good
Great.
times.
all right. Well, it was great. It was wonderful meeting all of you. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And for everybody else, again, please look up Lisa Barca Music. And if she's out there, go see her, go talk to her. Great music, and waiting for that album to come out. So we will talk to you guys very soon. And thank you for joining us. This is Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Anton Scholl. And Lisa, William, Anthony, thank you for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, Anton.
Anton, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for having us on.
Awesome
Yeah.
questions.
Great interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining our Living in the Limelight podcast with your host, Anton Scholl. Please feel free to comment, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And also add us to your playlist on your favorite streaming sites. Thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you again next week.